My name is John McNally. I'm a senior research associate at the Smart Prosperity Institute and the head of our clean growth team. So the Smart Prosperity Institute is a think tank that focuses on environment economy issues in Canada. If I'm thinking about the biggest issue that Canada is going to face this decade, and the decade after that, and the decade after that, that's climate change. Now, climate change is going to offer kind of three big problems that it's going to force Canada to have to solve and think about. One is that Canada is going to need to adapt to changes in its own climate. Part of the way that climate change works is that the entire world doesn't necessarily warm at the same rate. It's a function of the way kind of heat gets mapped out on the globe. But what that means is that Canada is actually warming at above the global average. So specifically, Canada is warming 2 times faster than the global average, and Northern Canada is warming 3 times faster than the global average. Now, that's going to have some serious impacts on our environment, our cities, and the kinds of natural disasters we face. So managing those as they become more frequent and helping communities adapt is going to be essential. The second problem that climate change is going to bring forward is we need to reduce our own emissions to meet our own targets. So Canada has a net zero greenhouse gas emissions target set to the year 2050. And part of what we're thinking about right now is which policies, which investments, which projects can help reduce our emissions in line with meeting our target. Now, policy can help us sort of make the technology and deploy the services that we need to tackle that issue. And 2050 is probably going to come sooner than most folks think. So we have to start acting today to ensure that we're going to be able to meet our targets in mitigating our own emissions. And the third issue that climate change is going to bring forward is that we're not the only country reducing our emissions. Other countries are as well. So the 3 biggest economies in the world, the US, China, and the European Union, have all pledged to also reach net zero emissions by 2050 or by 2060. So that means a lot of the products that Canada makes and sells, oil, gas, cars with internal combustion engines, aren't going to be nearly as in demand in the future as they are today. So if we want to continue being a rich country with a high quality of life, then we need to think about what else we can make, design, and sell that's going to be in demand in this zero emissions future. So a lot of the discussion we've been having lately has been focused on the idea of a green recovery from the coronavirus. So coming out of this economic downturn or coming out of this recession, we want to focus on making investments in the areas that are able to help us solve those 3 problems that climate change is going to bring forward. We want to help communities adapt to climate impacts to ensure that that people and communities are safe from worsening natural disasters. We want to make sure that we have the policies in place so that we can reduce our own emissions, so that we can play our part in a world that's sort of moving towards net zero. And we also want to be sure that we invest in the projects, the infrastructure, the technologies, and the companies that are going to help us make the products that are going to be in demand as the world moves towards net zero and create good jobs, making some of those technologies and services that the world is increasingly demanding. So that's the green recovery part. Now, another part of what we've been advocating for has been an inclusive recovery. So we want a recovery to be both green and inclusive. Because saying that we need to tackle climate change is pretty straightforward, but it's also important to think about how we tackle these issues and who benefits from some of these investments and some of these support programs that the government might roll out. So in most economic downturns, government support tends to get directed at the industries where there's been the highest number of job losses. The logic being that you want to help people get back to work. And there's no point in helping people get back to work in the areas where they never lost their jobs in the first place. You want to make sure that any investment goes into helping create new jobs. So in this particular downturn, in this recession, the hardest hit industries haven't been manufacturing and construction like they usually are, but they've been sectors like the entertainment industry, the service industry, restaurant industries, and retail. So governments who are thinking about support programs need to keep in mind which ideas and which policies can help ensure that those folks can come back to work, and more importantly, that they have jobs to come back to in the first place.